Welcome to the Raven Space on YouTube. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Jason, and this is Raven Space News, where we talk about Baltimore Ravens news 3 days a week. I'm super excited and happy that you guys joined us today. Happy President's Day. I hope you guys have off work, and if you do not, I hope that you can look at this show, learn something about the Ravens today, and have a good time. So thank you guys so much. We have some great topics that we're going to hop into today. Please subscribe to the Raven Space on YouTube for the best Baltimore Ravens content on the internet. Also, if you want to help us out, check the description below where you can become a Patreon subscriber and you can help us grow. Now, we go and talk about the topics. We're going to talk about the Ravens' issues with their deep throws. We're going to talk about the issues with over-analysis. And then we're going to talk about an issue I have with a certain mock draft. But it'll all get better when we talk about the mailbag and comment of the day. It's the way you guys can get into the show. And let's begin with the first topic of the day. And it's about the Baltimore Ravens and how they were rated the 4th worst deep passing team in the NFL with a 42.3 rating. It was, now it wasn't the worst. So let's start there. It wasn't the worst, so I am proud of that. I believe the Panthers were at like 27%. So they were terrible, but we weren't the worst. However, I think this shows where the Ravens were, because you can't win. The Ravens, and Joe Flacco said this as well, you can't win with this build of the Ravens, this era of the Ravens. You can't win if Joe Flacco isn't hitting his deep balls. And in order for that to happen, you need players to come up big. You guys have to remember that when Joe Flacco's at his best, it was play action passes, throw the ball deep down the field. And I don't know if it was so much Joe Flacco's fault this year. He had some issues, especially early in the season. But later in the season, he did start to stabilize. But there were no receivers there trying to help him make plays. I mean, none at all. Except for Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace did start getting better. But down the field, I think Jerry Maclin had one catch that was, past 25 yards. The tight ends really didn't have any. It was, Chris Moore. Let's not even talk about the Brashard Perriman. I mean, listen, Brashard, you one drop away from being shipped to Cleveland, to be 100% honest with you. So it's, I'm getting heated up right now. But you can't win if Joe Flacco can't throw the deep ball. And so I think the Ravens need to look at that, and as a key part of their offense. Teams like the Steelers do that. The deep throw is a key part of the Steelers offense. Now you can be successful not doing that, like the Patriots do, like Drew Brees does. But the Ravens cannot be successful not throwing the ball deep, because we have a quarterback whose best ability is his arm strength. It's not his accuracy. It's not the way he, manipulates an offense. It's the way that he outthrows coverages. We saw it with the throw to Jacoby Jones in the playoffs, right? He literally outthrew. He threw the ball so deep and so far that the safety couldn't track it. So I think that is his key strength, and we have to celebrate that strength and bring it out if we want to be successful in the future. So let me know what you guys think about this percentage. Again, 47%. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now we're going to go to the next topic, and this is a topic that I knew about, but then there were some articles, so I want to talk to you guys about it. The Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti stated that he believes that the Ravens have overanalyzed in the past when it comes to the draft. And I see where he's coming from, right? Because the Ravens, you have to remember, the first stint of Ozzie Newsome, I mean, he was getting Pro Bowlers left and right. He was getting Hall of Famers. The second half of his career, he only has one Pro Bowler, C.J. Mosley, which amazes me. Um, it amazes me that Jimmy Smith's never been to a Pro Bowl, but that's what the article said. You know, I was in awe. I really was. But just because you don't have Pro Bowlers doesn't mean players aren't good. I think Jimmy Smith is a win, right? I think Marlon Humphrey, from what we've seen, is a win. And so I would rather overanalyze than underanalyze, to be 100% honest. I don't believe scouting is the problem with our team. I think we have enough prospects coming in who perform on a level that I think is adequate. It's adequate enough that every free agency period, some team takes it, you know, and some team takes out great players, so they are fine with it. I think the issue is the injuries and coaching. That's what I honestly think it is. And so I see what Bishott's saying, but I do not believe that we're over analyzing or over scouting our team. I don't want to say it's crazy. He's a smart guy, right? He's got to where he is because he's smart. And in the business world, you can overanalyze in the business world because there are decisions that need to be made that you overanalyze, and you get afraid, right? But in scouting, where it is some science, but it is also some art. It is, you know, you got to be able to look at the dog and the guy, right? You have to be able to see how big of a chip on the shoulder does he have, right? And some players say they have a big chip on their shoulder, but they really don't, right? Again, you have Tom Brady, who you wouldn't think Tom Brady has a chip on his shoulder, and that's why he went in the 5th round. And then you find out that, whoa, wait a minute. Not only does this person have a chip, it may be the biggest chip we've ever seen, right? He's just so committed to proving that he's great. And so, you know, I just think that you hit some, you miss some. I think Ozzie and the scouting team hits more than they miss. And so I'm not upset about that, but I do see what the owner is saying. But now we're going to move to the third topic. And this is the one that had me heated the most. And you guys have been telling me, you know, stay away from these mock drafts. And I think I will after this one. But the latest Bleacher Report mock draft has the Ravens drafting receiver James Washington. Guys, I'm not upset about James Washington. Fine player, right? But it's crazy to me that the Bleacher Report has the Ravens taking James Washington and Calvin Ridley dropping all the way back to like the 25th pick. It's wild. It's a terrible mock draft. It really honestly is. NFL.com's Mike Mayock ranked every position. James Washington comes in as the 4th best receiver. And I believe that. I honestly believe that. And it's kind of like the people at the Bleacher Report never ever watch the Ravens, know anything about the Ravens. If you think that Ozzie Newsome is going to pick James Washington, who again, fine player, has never had success on a team level, right? I mean, again, good player, but he's never been in any, you know, conference games, right? No, you know, not conference games, but he hasn't been in any playoff games, right? You know, and that matters to GMs. Do you have the goods when, you know, it's the biggest game in the world? You know, have you done things? Have you played top caliber opponents? Right? He has not. He has not. And also, if you really honestly think that Ozzie's going to take some guy over a receiver from Alabama, you do not need to be talking about the Baltimore Ravens. I am sorry. Now, if let's say he predicted Calvin Ridley and got it wrong, I would be like, okay, I'm not mad at that. You know, sometimes you get them right, sometimes you get them wrong, but you made the smart choice. This ain't the smart choice. This is the dumb choice. And so I was super upset. Not upset is not the right word, but I was just like, what kind of mock draft is this? I was like, you know, it's just, you know, it wouldn't have made the show if it was a regular news day. Okay. If it was the regular season, it wouldn't have made the show. it's the off season. I'm out here pulling that strings to get you guys content, so it made the show. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, this mock draft stuff. I think one of you guys in the comments said mock drafts are useless until after free agency. I'm kind of feeling you right now because this was a terrible, terrible mock draft. But now it's my favorite part of the show, the Raven Space Mailbag, sponsored by Raven Space Patreon and our patrons. If you guys want to help the Raven Space grow and get a lot of cool perks, check out our Patreon page in the description below. Now, this question comes from Med Dabo, and he says, if the Ravens could afford him, should the Ravens sign Baltimore native Tavon Austin? He could fill the slot receiver role, return kicks and punts, and even be a decent deep threat. He could be the next Jacoby Jones in Baltimore. So, thank you so much for your question, Med Dabo. I'm going to say this. That is not a bad idea at all. Now, Jacoby Jones was special that 1 year, right? He had a special year. He was a top returner late in the season. He really did honestly become a deep threat. And he had a special year. So I'm not going to put that on Tavon just yet. Of course, I'm from Baltimore, so I'm a fan of Tavon. What I honestly hope, is that he will take a discount for the Baltimore Ravens. Because right now, he's not a high-priced guy. But I think if you can get him, oh, man, you can't tell me that he wouldn't take a hometown discount to hang out with his family and let his family see him play. Now, there are bad things with playing in the same city that your family lives. Most notably, they'll ask you for things. But I do think that if we can get him for a good price, oof. Now, the issue with that is that if you get him, you can't keep Campanero because they're the same. They do the same thing. And you can't get Jarvis Landry because they do the same thing. Now, Jarvis doesn't return kicks, but Tavon Austin is not an outside receiver. He's best in the slot, and so is Jarvis Landry. So I think that you go for Tavon Austin once you know you cannot get Jarvis Landry. And then you have to go find a way to get another big receiver. Then you have to go get an Allen Robinson who plays on the outside, right? So, you know, it matters what they do. I think you have to choose Tavon Austin or Jarvis Landry. I really do think you have to choose. So now we're going to go to the comment of the day. And this comment comes from the Wookie Hut. And they say, talk about Johnny Manziel. We can. So there are some rumors that Johnny Manziel will go to the Ravens. First, that's not happening. I think there are some rules, some team rules in place that prevent that from happening. You know, about legal stuff, I believe. So I don't think that's going to happen. First. Second, if the Ravens didn't take a flyer on Colin Kaepernick, didn't take a flyer on RG3, they're not going to take a flyer on Johnny Manziel, who is just as small, actually smaller than Kaepernick and RG3. Plays with the same style. Throws the ball maybe worse than them, but definitely not better than them. And has not proven it, right? Colin Kaepernick has proven it. I know he regressed, but he's proven that he can win big games. RG3's proven that he can have great seasons. Johnny has not proven anything. Second, the issues that Johnny is going through are not traits you want to have in a quarterback. I don't know how to say this, but you don't want your quarterback to have a drinking problem, and it's tough. It's a tough reality, right? You don't want your quarterback to be bipolar. It's tough, right? But the same way that you don't want your boss to have bipolar, disorder, you don't want your quarterback to have bipolar disorder, right? And so when you have to lead people, when these people are leaders, they get paid money. Organizations have to make that decision, and I don't think they're going to make that decision to give Johnny Manziel a flyer when honestly there are more talented quarterbacks who are not playing football than Johnny Manziel. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to Raven Space on YouTube for the best Baltimore Ravens content on the internet. Thank you guys so much, and go Ravens.